our tradition and his coming, of course, we welcome him. You guys already know the protocol. You guys are already standing up. Yeah. So let's welcome right first Honorable Deputy Speaker of Rt.Hon. Let's welcome Right Honorable Nathaniel Oyet Pirino. Yeah, you're welcome, Honorable. Good. Thank you. Yeah. You may be seated. This is yours. We can put our phone in silence as we are going to have this very important conversation. All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today we are joined by one of the hardworking gentlemen. He's Right Honorable First Deputy Speaker of the National Parliament. And I requested for this discussion because we found it very interesting. He's a very interesting politician that has been engaging with young people, especially on. Can we adjust the sound, or we can remove it from here? Yeah. Yes, because he has always engaged with us so much on social media, especially on Facebook, and this where we get most of the updates from. And when I reached out to him, he didn't hesitate to say yes. And I want to appreciate him for giving us this opportunity to have this discussion with him. Our discussion for today, we're not focusing on a specific thing. Given the context of our country, we have a lot of things to discuss about. We'll be discussing about the ongoing Tumaini initiative, which is happening in Nairobi. We shall talk about the road to permanent constitution. We shall touch something on election, which is supposed to, let me say, which is going to happen. We're not sure whether it will happen or not. We'll listen from him later. And we'll talk about the crisis in Sudan. And all of us have heard about what is happening in Congo, Goma, the M23 taking over Goma. So, given that this is an intellectual discussion, we have to be well versed about our neighbors, what is happening. So, I want to welcome Right Honorable First Deputy Speaker to officially introduce himself to us. You're welcome, Honorable.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm grateful for the invitation. I'm Right Honorable Oyet Nathaniel Pierino, the First Deputy Speaker of the National Legislative Assembly. I'm here on the invitation of your good self, and I'm ready for any interaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. I will start with a recent picture we saw. You posted a picture on Facebook of you were resting on a sofa, and and you wrote there a caption of malaria, and people misinterpreted this picture. People are saying it's the economic crisis that has really is affecting everybody here. So I don't know how true is that. This is an opinion of the people on Facebook. So we don't know whether it was really sickness uh, or it was what people suspected. But we are happy that you're really standing on your feet strong. Yes, we know that there's ongoing Tumaini Peace Initiative that is happening in Nairobi. Today we got an update, and a lot of people have been having controversies, especially since you're the deputy chairperson of SPLMIO. People have been pointing fingers at SPLMIO as being part of the people that are sabotaging the Tumaini Initiative. So I want to hear the first-hand information from you, Deputy Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Um, regarding the picture, it was not posted in bad faith. I was not feeling well. I have weak immunity to malaria. I've been struggling with it. And I fell sick and I was getting treatment and I wanted people to pray for me. And I know I have my friends and relatives on the platform of the social media. So the picture was posted. I treat myself in Juba. I go to the hospitals around the town and I get the treatment that I need. Regarding Tumaini, of course, I'm also a deputy chair of the SPLM-IO. We are not sabotaging any peace process. We are committed to peace. We see the future of this country in the peace and stability of the country. Tumaini initiative was our initiative. It started in Rome when our chairman, Dr. Riek Machar was invited together with the President Salva Kiir in 2019. When they went and met the Pope in Rome, Vatican, before he departed, he requested to have an audience with the whole out group, and especially General Thomas Cirillo. And then that audience was granted. He was connected, he spoke with General Thomas, and as a result of that conversation, which was cordial and also in good faith, the first vice president requested the community of San Egidio to mediate between the parties who were in our axis and the whole out group so that we can have a sustainable peace, an inclusive peace. And that is exactly what happened. There were rounds of talks in San Egidio, which was inconclusive. And then there was discussion to move the talks to Nairobi, Kenya. And that is where His Excellency the President pick it up from. Of course, Kenya cannot involve in the affairs of another country unless it's duly invited. This is how a letter was written by the President to His Excellency William Ruto, the President of Kenya, to help mediate together with the San Egidio. As we talk, San Egidio is also involved in the mediation in Kenya. So this is our initiative. We cannot again stab it or sabotage it. What we raised was genuine concern. The concept of the mediation of the peace talks between the parties to our axis and the parties outside our axis, the whole out group, was about inclusivity, was about sustainable peace. We wanted to listen to the concerns why they refused to sign the RRCs. If we had negotiated conclusively in 2019, the points that they are raising today are you have failed to implement the peace agreement and so on, would not have arisen if it was in 2019. They were going to tell us, in fact, they have been telling us some of the issues that made them not to sign. Though the issues that they were raising in Senegidio, most of them were captured in the RRCs. The only differences might be the mechanism of achieving some of those goals that were set in the RRCs, like the permanent constitution making process. They were talking of a referendum instead of having the Constituent Assembly promulgating the Constitution. They wanted a referendum. But according to the structure of the RRCs, you would have elections 2 months or 3 months after promulgating the permanent constitution. So you cannot hold elections after elections. You know, elections is a very costly business. Referendum is a form of elections where you are determining between two or more options. You want to choose one, and the citizens will have to undergo the same processes of elections and so on. So you cannot involve the entire citizens in a referendum, and then 2 months later, you also bring them to elect leaders and so on. That's why the permanent constitution is meant to be promulgated by the Constituent Assembly, and after endorsement by the National Constitutional Conference. Constitutional Conference is where the participation of the masses of South Sudan is planned, where the chiefs, all walks of life, civil society, church groups, and the politicians and so on, they will come. And there will be also experts that will help the Sudanese people to write their constitution. So this is the background of the permanent constitution and also the context of the Tumaini. We are not in any way sabotaging Tumaini.
All right, thank you very much. I think this answers most of the question that people have been assuming that it's being Tumaini is being obstructed by SPLMIO, and we have this today. I had Edmond Yakani was talking, telling the opposition to make a compromise to ensure that they come into a compromise with the government so they can reach out to the peace agreement. So, what is the complications since Thomas Cirillo is not part of the Tumaini initiative? Won't this bring another issue after this, the signing of Tumaini initiative?
You know, the complication in the Tumaini is that the opposition or the holdout group, they have replicated the text of the RRCs. In some cases, verbatim. Actually, in most cases, verbatim. And yet, they refuse to sign the same text. So we are telling them, you, instead of replicating the RRCs, you tell us exactly the reason why you could not sign the RRCs. This is where the contention is. Even now, they're saying, the other day I read their position. They said the RRCs was signed under duress, and that Khartoum government had twisted the opposition to sign the RRCs, and then they decided to abstain. Well, what we are seeing is that they are trying to take us round and round. First of all, the RRCs was negotiated starting in Addis Ababa. It was only 3 outstanding issues that took us to Sudan, Khartoum. And it was also at the request of IGAD. So in Khartoum, we had the Kenyan government acting rapporteur in the mediation in Khartoum. So there was no any imposition of the RRCs. The agenda was set in Addis. Other parts were agreed in Addis. Only 3 outstanding issues: security arrangements, the permanent constitution as part of the governance. Those are the only issues that took us to. In any case, the points they raise in their position paper has got nothing to do with the text of the agreement. They raise the security concern, in Khartoum then and so on. But the text of the RRCs, they remain intact. They are the products of deliberation between the parties to the RRCs. And they participated in the Khartoum process, negotiation, up to the end. When they abstained, they withheld their signatures. So what we are telling our brothers and sisters in the Hollout group is that let them bring new ideas instead of replicating the text of the RRCs. And the points they raise about the implementation of the RRCs, the delays and the extension, yes, we recognize that point as valid. But then they did not tell us how they would want to improve on the implementation of the agreement. Instead of raising the agreement has failed and so on, it is not to do with the text. It is to do with the implementation of the text. Now, they have also recognized the same. That's why the 8 protocols that they are referring to, they are actually protocols of the same text of the RRCs. So that means we have no issue with the text, with the provisions of the RRCs. The only issue we have is with the lack of political will, which they already raised, and we recognize that. Finances, challenges, we also recognize that. If that becomes the problem, then let us now discuss how do we break the lack of political will? How do we work to improvise the finances needed for the implementation, and so on? And then how do we deal with the spoilers of the peace process? Those who are spoiling the peace process, those who are violating the peace agreement or the implementation. How do we deal with that? We want to hear and engage with the opposition in such discussions so that we can improve in the implementation. But we should not think of replacing the RRCs, because the Rt.Hon was established on the basis of the RRCs. They themselves who withheld, all right, they are the Hollout group. They have opportunity to correct the mistakes that were realized during the implementation. If there were violations, if there were lack of political will, they have this opportunity, and let them bring them on the table, and we sign it off, and we all come home and then implement the agreement.
Yeah, and you have admitted that there's been problem in implementing the peace agreement with the 2 extensions that we have witnessed so far. Suppose that the implementation does not happen, it's not fully implemented, will there be another extension?
Now, you are asking a question from a pessimistic point of view.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound pessimistic, but what I want to say, we have made extensions and another extension. We don't now want more extension. We want to go to conclude the transitional period, and we go for elections.
All right, thank you. So we now we are not speaking saying we have a national government. So with SPLM might not say they will say we are not only working as SPLM, it's a national government. SPLM is there, SPLM-IO, and other and other political parties. So any failure that happens should not be attributed only to SPLM, but should be attributed to all the parties that are involved in the peace process. Then I would ask, how viable will election happen in 2026 when we don't have the permanent constitution? When will the permanent constitution happen? Then election will happen. Or which one come first?
When you say there should be equal blames or balanced blames to all the parties signatory to the agreement, I will not agree. You know, since 2018, there has been clear incidences of violations of the agreement, and the violators are known. You cannot accuse the violators of the agreement and the victims of the violators of the agreement and apportion them the same responsibility. We had insecurity incidents in Kajokeji where the SSPDF attacked the cantonments where the opposition forces are cantoned. We have incidences in Upper Nile, in Maban, incidences in Pagak, Maiwut County, incidences in Western Barakazal, incidences in Western Equatoria, incidences in Eastern Equatoria. So the perpetrators of violations are known. The lack of political will. There are clear provisions in the RRCs which directs the parties to undertake certain actions. You know, all the parties, they should work together. But if there is one who is not yielding to the implementation of provisions, this is where the implementation has been failing. When you talk of lack of political will, there are other issues in the implementation which does not require finances. They require only signatures and pronouncement in form of executive orders or presidential decree. You find sometimes the names that should have been read on the radio is not being read. It delays for months in the office of the president. Why? It is a sabotage. Okay, it's a sabotage. And then you have also incidences of funds which should be disbursed to the implementation mechanisms and so on. All right. The pen holder in the Republic of South Sudan, of course, is the president, can direct the government to do anything. So where that decision is needed, and when that decision is needed, we don't get it. This is what leads to delays and so on. Now, regarding the 2026 elections must come. We will not buy in as party, as PLM-IO. We don't buy into any extension again. We must implement the agreement in letter and the spirit. They say that we drop the implementation in form of you leave the permanent constitution making process. When we know that this major provision, this is the whole chapter of the agreement, and is coming with a resolution of conflict or addressing root causes, that is a driver of conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. The system of government is coming with the permanent constitution. You have the whole Ministry of Federal Affairs since 2020. It has been working on the system of government, federalism. Now, in 2024 or 2025, you want to tell us now, okay, you leave this one. It was not important in the first place. When you know that federalism has been a popular demand of the people of South Sudan and is here to resolve governance crisis that we have. It's here to ensure that powers between the central, state, and local government are actually divided. Resources is taken from the central government and given to the subnational government so that services can reach to our people. The number of states, you remember the number of states had proliferated to 32. Others even wanted to go to 39. Others had 21, like us in the IO. We wanted 21 according to the colonial districts, which was not having any dispute. 28 states unleash crisis in Upper Nile, crisis in Unity State, and in other parts of the country. 32 states also aggravated crisis. Other states were not viable. States like Gok, as tiny as a county, with no infrastructure and so on. You see? And for us, we saw that that was an attempt to actually water down the concept of federalism. Because if you now begin creating states that are not viable economically, viable geographically, and politically, where there is no infrastructure, the governor sits under a tree, and so on. This one is an attempt to water down, the concept of federalism. The question of internal boundaries is going only to be resolved within federalism discourse. Internal boundaries. You have boundary issues in Warap, Abyei and Warap. Within Warap, you have boundary issues between Agok and Apuk. You have boundary issues in Eastern Equatoria. You have boundary issues in Upper Nile, Padang, and the Cholo brothers. In Maban, you have boundary issues. You have boundary issues here in Equatoria, and so on. When will you resolve these issues? It is in the constitutional making process. Even our external boundaries, they are not even clear. We are here fighting over a country whose boundaries are elastic. It's being grabbed from one end of the country and also on the other end of the country. In our boundaries with the Khartoum, with the Sudan, is not yet clear. Our boundary with the Uganda and Kenya is being grabbed. I don't want to say it's not clear. It is clear because those countries, Sudan got independent in 1956, 1st January. Uganda came later, 6 years later, 1962. Kenya came. When they came, they were standing as members of the United Nations organization. There was no quarrel over boundaries. The quarrel, why is the quarrel coming today? You see? Why are they now grabbing the boundaries? Where were they when they were bordering with Sudan? We have declared our independence in 2011. On the same boundary, we did not move an inch. But now Kenya and Uganda, they are moving in the forests along our boundaries, marking stones and throwing beacons and trying to manipulate the Google Maps. All this will not work because nobody will consent to it. We know when we got independence, and we know the map that was deposited with the UN. We know it. So nobody can cheat us on the question of boundaries. So please, the discussion that permanent constitution is irrelevant is actually an attempt to perpetuate the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. I know this discussion is there, but those who are peddling it, they are not wishing South Sudan well. If they are wishing South Sudan well, in fact now, even with the permanent constitution making process, we have already gone halfway. The legal framework is ready. The personnel, manpower is ready. It is only the CDC, the members of Constitutional Drafting Committee, that can be recruited. And if they are to recruit, they can even recruit today when the money is there. Because you cannot recruit somebody and fail to pay him or her. So it is only this technical unit within the framework of the constitution making process which is not there. But the rest, they are there. They have office, well renovated. There are also other new structures that have been placed. They have been visiting the states. Now, the one who is now advising that let us not go for a constitution at a time when the 2 years extension has not even started. These are the people actually who have been working to sabotage the agreement. There is no doubt about that.
So you agree we should have constitution before election?
We must have it. It is the plea of the people of South Sudan.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to the recent happening in Sudan, where we had a lot of South Sudanese have been killed, and Sudanese as well has been killed in some part of Juba, and the shops have been looted. How is that implication in the diplomatic relations between Sudan and South Sudan? Won't this affect the current fragile peace that we have here in South Sudan?
Well, we could not have closed our eyes and allow South Sudanese to be targeted in the Sudan. They can slaughter them, butcher them, imprison them, kill them, and so on, rape them, and so on. That one cannot happen. It could have happened to any one of us if we were there. The circumstances that found South Sudanese in the Sudan are very clear. First of all, we were one country until 2011. People who were settled there, they had property there in the Sudan. Seeing that one country broke into two independent states and they are just neighboring one another. And there they have properties. Also, Sudanese are here. They also have properties. This is how they remain there. Others were students. Others remain there as refugees and so on. Just like we also have students and refugees and businessmen here. This is how the two countries are having citizens of either country. You see? To target them on the basis of their genes, on the basis of their citizenship, on the basis of their race, is what we have condemned in the strongest term possible. And we have also asked the authorities in Port Sudan to investigate and bring to book those perpetrators. Here in South Sudan, there was a reaction from the youth who reacted on the street because of the situation that they saw. their brothers and sisters or mothers or fathers were being subjected to, and so on. They reacted angrily, which of course, as a government, we don't support that. We have made some arrests and also put in place preventive measures. Curfew was put in place, patrols, and so on. We cannot behave like those culprits in Wet Medeni. Those are clear criminals in Wet Medeni. And we want them to be investigated. And also those who are protesting agree with the government on that. Why do they think they can also do the same in Juba, in Malakal, and elsewhere without the government stopping them? So the action of the government to stop our youth, our citizens, not to take law into their hands, was in place. So the relations between the two countries cannot be broken by some criminals elements within SAF. Those are criminals that should be arrested, tried, and convicted. They cannot jeopardize the brotherly, sisterly relations that we have. We have historical relations. We'll remain neighbors. Sudan will not move away. South Sudan will not even move away. And you cannot stop Sudanese from coming to South Sudan. Or you cannot stop South Sudanese from going to Sudan. They will always be there. We only need responsible governments in Port Sudan or in Khartoum and also in Juba to protect the human rights of the citizens, of their citizens, and the human rights of those from other countries. So our relations will continue. We have economic relations, we have security interests, economic interests, political interests. In fact, the closest country that we have is Sudan. We are bound by blood, we are bound by history, we are bound by a lot of things. So we must be in peace and respecting the dignity and the rights of everybody.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable. Now I will open the ground for a few questions. And if you have questions, please just go direct to the question for the sake of time. Before that, maybe we just have a quick one on the social media ban that was issued by NCA. You posted that the parliament was not consulted. Will there be any consequences on to the side of NCA since they skipped this from the parliament and they issued the social media ban without consulting the parliament?
Well, the ban on social media was illegal. Nobody can tolerate that. We live in a very advanced technological age. We have our human rights, fundamental human rights, and fundamental freedom. Pronounced in our Bill of Rights and pronounced in other instruments, regional instruments like the African Union Charter, the UN Charter, global instrument. Okay. Those rights are not privileges granted by the state. It is not up to the state to say you enjoy or this you cannot enjoy. No. The state of South Sudan was formed out of the social contract. The citizens of the 64 tribes or more agreed to live together, to recognize the rights of individual, and to recognize also some group rights, like for disabled people, for women, and so on, for children, and so on. Okay? So it is that social contract that brought the sovereignty, the elements of sovereignty, the statehood was born, much as we had to fight for it. When we fought for it, there was not the fight of one tribe, one man. It was not the fight of the communication authority. It was the people fighting. In those days, the youth from all walks of life. Kasha, you can be picked. Others left school and went to the bush to fight for this country to come out. There was nothing like communication authority, nothing like even government. We were a movement, liberation, freedom fighters. We came to form government later. Why did we form government? Not to come and torment us. Not to come and subtract from our human rights. Because the human rights existed before government. They are here to protect and respect and promote them. Okay. Now, the right that was at stake was that of the access of information. What does it mean? Some of these rights, if it's not explained, you may think of it in terms of its face value. Freedom to access to information imposes certain conditions on the government. First of all, to avail information, not to restrict information, not to block channels of information. Take the social media that was being blocked. Without the social media, the atrocities in Medeni, we were not going to get it. Now, the National Communication Authority was acting now in whose interest? Was it in the interest of the relatives or the country whose citizens were being targeted and killed? Or it was in the interest of those who were perpetuating the violence in Medeni, so that they can kill, knowing that there is absolute darkness in South Sudan. They will not see us. It was not thoughtful act. I was told somebody by the name Napoleon was seen around the office of the presidency trying to go with documents so that the social media can be, blocked. It was not thought. They were actually acting in the interest of those ones who were abusing our citizens in Medeni and other places in the Sudan. So you cannot restrict information. It's like having rights to education in the Bill of Rights, and then you go around destroying schools, school buildings, you destroy them. How will you achieve the rights? Okay? You have rights to education, and then you don't provide the education service. All these rights impose responsibility on the government. We are not saying the people enjoying these rights should also abuse the rights. We are not saying that. You cannot close the social media, because in doing so, you would be also punishing or violating the rights of those who are using it rightfully. Like those who are trading on Facebook. There are people who are trading on Facebook. the advertising on Facebook. Even this
The show itself.
show now is on Facebook. I'm sure if the blockade was not removed, I will not be here. He will not be here. And nobody will be hearing me.
Yeah.
So it was not thought through decision. And the parliament was not consulted. Now that the culprit has done something, and then he has corrected himself before even the parliament summoned him. You see? And the rights of people are violated, and so on. We are still going to summon the National Communication Authority. We'll summon them to come and explain. And we don't want a repeat of this. They must understand the concept of human rights, fundamental freedom, and its implication on government policies.
All right, thank you. For those who are viewing us, you can also watch us live every Sunday from 7:30 to 8:30, Juba Echo TV, and you can as well watch us live on Facebook and on MTN TV. These are the platform where this show will be broadcast live. Now I will open the floor for some questions. Just be straight to the point, and your question should be on the topics that we've been discussing here. Yes, now I will take some few. You mention your name, where you work, then you can direct your questions by show of hand. If okay, let's start from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel Mwaka, for providing us with this platform. And I also thank the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker for turning up for this particular show. I have a number of questions. Let me hope I may not be bothering you so much, but I feel it is important. One is on the issue of Tumaini, and you spoke about the issue of political will. And according to the protocol that was signed, I think the political will issue, if I have not mistaken, was proposed by the group on the issue to do with the leadership that manages the implementation of the agreement, of where they had proposed National Leadership Council that would constitute even non-South Sudanese to be part of it. And I think it was not agreed by the government of the Republic of South Sudan. So now, how, in your own opinion, how do you think both the government of the Republic of South Sudan and the hold-up groups can be able to break this political issue since it is becoming the deadlock? How do you feel people are going to break this? Because it is what is actually hindering now the process which is going on. And secondly is on the issue.
Before you move forward, let me answer them as they come. The question of political will and the institutions that was being proposed, which had foreign elements. You know, that one we have rejected it. You don't need to compare this institution with the institutions of implementation of agreement like RJMEC, like CITISAM, and so on. These institutions are outside the government. Okay. If you want to bring foreign elements in the government institution, like that of the leadership, was targeting the presidency, to bring foreign elements in the presidency, to be sitting periodically to discuss matters of security, matters of economic development, matters of national interest of South Sudan, sitting together with our president, first vice president, and the rest. And you have these foreign citizens seated also there, assuming that the foreign citizen comes from one of our neighbors, and the agenda to be discussed is about our national border, for instance, where he also comes from that country. That's why we say no, you cannot tamper with the matters of sovereignty of the country. But you can put foreign citizens in implementation mechanisms. We call them mechanisms, not in the institutions of government. This is where we have departed with our brothers, trying to bring foreign elements in the governance of South Sudan. When we are already an independent country, we are a sovereign nation. We have 3 arms of government where we discuss matters of our national interests. Can we proceed?
Okay. The second issue is in regards to the mechanisms under the R access. And I will be specific on the constitution, on the RNCRC itself, and then the NEC. Yeah. So we have realized that, and then yes, security arrangement, of course, as part of it a bit. NTC is responsible for ensuring that all these provisions are implemented. But then we have seen that previously, the previous body failed to deliver its mandate, and that's why we have extension. And now we have a new NTC that has been recruited with the new members. So how are we as citizens going to be sure that this new NTC is really going to deliver the task, given the fact that the previous same body task with the same did not actually do itself? Because we have seen that the constitution making process is lagging behind, and also preparations for elections is behind, and security arrangement is actually, I think, lagging so behind, and it is a gist actually of the entire matter in regards to the R access. So how sure are we that this body will deliver, or what is the parliament intending to do to ensure that this NTC this time delivers its mandate?
We should first dissect why the previous NTC failed. Okay. Yes, they did not achieve the target, but there were a number of factors that made them not to really succeed. One of them was the question of lack of political will, which affected their work. As I told you before, there are other things that was just requiring decision making, not finances, like formation of government. When do you want to form government? You can decide. Getting the names are from the parties. All right. You have issues like the finances of the NTC. It affected their work. I know within the NTC, there has been a lot of concern of the way they were managing the resources. You have seen at one point, some of their members were in parliament answering questions to do with how they were managing the resources. $10 million was in question. So if there was political will, that question of $10 million will not just be silent or go silent like that. The person in question was going to be investigated further and made to account. I don't want to conclude that the question is over. It's not yet over. I know in parliament I was the one in charge of that file. And when the issue became viral, people receded to their parties and they started attacking my office and my authority. But the file is still there alive. It's not dead. Question of accountability will never rot, even after 10, 20 years, even after elections. Those who think they can do something during this time, or they have done something before and they will get away with it, it's not true. South Sudanese will elect their true government, and that government, on the basis of their pledges to the people, and if one of the pledges was accountability, that government will, from the word go, will pursue programs of accountability. Look into all files and make sure that the citizens recover what they have lost. You see. So the NTC was affected by other factors. Now, the extension came out of the discussion by the leadership of the Rt.Hon. And they have decided that this time round, they will implement the pending task. We must hold them by their words. But what I want to tell you, as a party, we are not buying to any extension. Should we not achieve security arrangements? Should we not achieve any other provision? We must usher the country to elections. Citizens must decide. I'm not telling the violators of the agreement, those who sabotage the agreement, to stop implementing the agreement now because we are saying we are going for elections. So parties should work to implement the provision of the agreement. I'm happy that Tumaini also is discussing the same. Lack of political will. It's discussing question of accountability of resources and so on. These are our same words. Look at the issue of national security bill, which was controversially passed in the parliament. That one did not need money. It needed political consensus. Everybody did not want that provision. On the street, civil society, the faith-based group, and even Tumaini, in Senegidio, they raised the same. But somebody do not want to listen. And it is there. The bill matured into a law according to the constitutional requirements. But I'm also happy to tell you that from the same Council of Ministers, it was again rediscussed and was directed that it goes back to the parliament. We blame the former DG of National Security who was harassing MPs to vote otherwise, to peddle this line of political approach, even when the leadership of the country, including the president, the first vice president, other vice presidents, and so on, they already agreed to scrap those provisions. But he has the audacity to move from Blue House, come to the parliament, intimidate the parliamentarians. That is exactly what we have seen. He is not there. I hope the new one will do the right thing.
Lastly is on the economy. We, the youth, are over 72% of the population of the country. And within the R access, there is a provision for the Youth Enterprise Fund. And I'm bringing this together with one of the entities within South Sudan that is providing us with electricity, and that is JEDCO, that manages our electricity. We see that one, the tariffs are too high for the electricity, and it is really causing a lot, affecting the citizens who are trying to use electricity for businesses. And also, when we look into these particular companies, the South Sudanese who are working there, those who are, for example, working at the lower level, like cleaners and so forth, the pay they get is really too low. And yet we understand the proceeds that JETCO is making, the company is making, is too high. Yeah. So, and we have not heard anything that maybe Parliament is trying to look into this issue, because really they are getting, let me say, $50. The cleaners are getting $50, but they wake up at around 5 a.m. Yeah, this current time to go to work, and they work only. And we know the crisis right now; things are expensive, but that's the pay they get. But the foreigners are getting high pay even when they are at the same level. So what are we going to see from the parliament, even given the fact that in 4 months people are in the recess, but the suffering is continuing? And bringing together with the Youth Enterprise Fund, it was an agreement, and up to date, we are not seeing anything. We are moving. By the time the parliament comes back, it will be almost 6 months of the year. And in 2026, we are heading to elections. Could this be contributing factors to pre and post-election violence? And how is Parliament going to help address such?
Well, the question of ZEDCO, the tariff, electricity tariff, I think is the most expensive in the world. There is exploitation. Exploitation by the company. And we in the parliament, we have already noted this. Last time we noted the exploitation in the water services. We also noted the exploitation in the electricity services. But the parliament discussed the one of the water services. Summoned all the relevant authorities, they came. JEDCO was next. And I'm telling you, JEDCO is next. They cannot tell us about whatever agreement they sign that is warranting them to charge high rate on electricity. The rate is very high, and it is unacceptable. We'll call the ministry concerned, the authority concerned, and the company concerned. South Sudan is a sovereign country. We cannot allow the country to be carried by an entrepreneur who is aiming at making profit. We are going to summon the relevant authorities and we resolve this matter of high electricity tariffs, which I'm sure will involve, if this is embedded in the agreement, it will involve opening up that agreement to have new terms. South Sudan is not running anywhere. When it is 50 years, they will still get their money. There is no excuse whatsoever to charge the citizens what they're charging now because they want to recover their profit, how fast they want it. So this is what I will say about ZEDCO.
Okay. Let's have one question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. By the name Sarafina, I'm a student, and well, because of interest of time, I'm going to ask one question, and it's in regard to the incident that happened in Sudan. Well, I don't. I want to know, like, why do the government often overlook the citizen concern during demonstration? And like, I don't know if they understand some reason, like, okay, it's like this. Like, most of the times when something pops up, uh, citizens tend to demonstrate in a certain weird way, but then again, like, most of the people do not understand. Like, recently, what happened? People, we were not actually fighting ourselves, or we were not against anyone. What we wanted was to loot and get something to eat. That was actually what was happening. Because take it from us, where I come from in Sherkat, most of the shops were looted. And you when you see that scenario, it basically shows that the citizens are very hungry. It's not about even people who died, because how many people have died in our country, and what have we done so far? Nothing. So it's basically like hunger that is disturbing people. But the government overlook it, and they feel like we want to do something, but they don't even see, like, the causes. What is the form of demonstration are these citizens doing? Hmm? Like, it's
Okay,
really
it's clear. I've
okay.
gotten your point. Um, well, a looting was not a demonstration. Okay, it was an act of violence, an act of criminality, that you are tampering with somebody's property. What took you, or what took the citizens to that dimension? Of course, you said is economic hardship, hunger, and so on. That one can be understood, but it's not a justification for you to take somebody's property. I know at the back of people's mind is that salaries have not been paid for many months, but we also know that not all the South Sudanese are working with the government. The government has employed some, but not everybody. Now, even if we pay salaries to those ones who are employed, yes, the economy will improve, obviously. There will be money in circulation, people will be buying goods and services and so on. Okay. But there are those bulk of citizens. We are over 12 million, projected now more than that. The government did not employ 12 million people. They have employed a small number out of the 12 million. Now the question is, the rest of the millions of population, where should they get their livelihood from? Obviously not by looting somebody's property, but they should do. Naturally, we as human beings, just like any other organisms, any other animal, we must live. We must survive. Okay. By providing. In a primitive society, survival is by gathering fruits, gathering, or hunting, or fishing, and so on. That one is in a primitive society. Okay? You don't have an office like this where you can be employed and so on. In fact, there is even no government. But you find people survive by nature, from nature. They also introduced farming. Farming was introduced for what? To produce food for consumption. From farming, they introduced industries to add value to what is being produced from farming. Produce maize. Okay, you want to add value, you go create factories to grind the maize so that somebody who has money can buy that goods. Introduction of market. These are avenues where we survive. All right. But our citizens are not being well oriented. Our citizens are not being well oriented. How to live, how to provide for oneself. Yes, the government has a role in a political economy like what we have. We are a state. We are supposed to run a political economy where there is introduction of money, there is labor, there is capital, there is land. Land is not in question. We have land, vast land, fertile land also. All right. What the government can do is to create an environment where a citizen can be able to work, to produce. Work is production. All right. You get employment, you are paid. When you are employed, you provide service. You must be productive. As a young man, as a young woman, you must be productive. It is only kids that might be productive. Born, breastfeeding, growing, you have to provide, and already the system of government has conditioned you that you must provide education to this kid to develop his or her capacity so that he or she is able to provide by being employed and is providing medical service, education service, engineering service, or whatever service. Of course, there is unemployment. That one comes back to the government. I talked of government creating conducive environment for citizens to be able to engage in productive activities. Security is one. Law and order, you have asked about looting. Without law and order, you lose your property. You should be able to work, generate your wealth, have property, buy a vehicle for your family or for your business. You park it there, nobody steals it. If you steal, the law should catch you. And government also must make sure that you are able to afford these vehicles. You are able to afford a tractor. You are able to afford to build a house, to afford a school. Education is there for you. Health services is there for you. You are healthy for you to work. You have also eaten for you to get energy so that you work. This should be the mindset. Not entirely no salary. That's not the answer. Yes, salary will come. There are arrears now. And the condition that led to no salaries is being explained to you. Before the war in Sudan, at least these salaries were coming because we were producing and exporting oil, which was affected. All right? Which was affected. But before that, we had this salary coming, though it may delay and so on. We also have issues of corruption. I know others fear saying it. We have issues of corruption. People embezzling, people taking what does not belong to them. They take what belongs to the public, take it for themselves, and they get away with it. These issues are there. And this issue of corruption, by the way, is a major issue. Because you take millions of dollars. How many jobs can $1 million create? Take, for instance, $1 million. How much is the price of a tractor? Say, not even 40. Say 30. Others even put it at 25, depending on the brand you want. 100,000 can bring 4 tractors. 4 times 10, you have 40 tractors. Okay? If the Minister of of Agriculture can afford 1,000 pieces of tractor and assemble it somewhere and say Youth Enterprise Fund, organized group of youth, as long as you have land, you have concept, project concept, you have tractor here to borrow, and you'll pay it after a year or 2. We shall have, I'm sure, enough food in the country. We will stop importing food from other countries. That is only in agriculture. We would have diversified the economy in doing that. Instead of relying only on oil, we also now rely on agriculture. Fish, Ministry of Fisheries and so on, is studying our fish potential and availing also capital like the one Minister of Agriculture can do. And our young people or business people are able to access this microfinance. If you go to Kenya, you find vehicles written SACCO, Saving and Cooperative something, society. They are there. Those SACCO written on vehicles, don't think those are designs. They are not. Those vehicles were bought with the microfinance money, which will be paid. It helps the citizens to be productive. So what we are lacking is productivity. Our potential is not actually out. And we see foreigners from other countries. They are now in Aru. Actually, the onions and the tomatoes that we consume in Juba, they no longer come from Uganda. They come from Aru. That bodyguard of mine, he comes from a place called Emilai. Emilai is next to Imotong, Ketire. The other day he was telling me that in his village, there are Ugandans and Kenyans who have integrated there. They are farming. They are keeping chicken. They are rearing pigs. They are farming, producing onions, producing tomatoes, and they sell in Torit. They sell in Juba. But my brothers and sisters from Emilai are just there, growing very small. That's all. You see? And that's all. So the issue is in our mind. It is in our mind. So this is what I can say. Going to break in people's shop is lawless. You are tampering with somebody's property and so on. We need to explore how we can produce goods and services. The government should create conducive environment for business to thrive. for young ones to go to school, for people to be healthy, and so on. For security, people should be moving at night. Goods and services should be going to Barakazal at night. Like now, as I talk, the other day I was commenting on when I saw Tumaini was declaring war zones all over the country instead of declaring markets and economic zones. They have declared war zones. And I was saying, is this one what took them to Tumaini? Tumaini means hope. Is there any hope in war? Why? Because I follow. Vehicles move at night from Juba to Wow. And I'm very happy about it. They move at night from Juba to Nimule. I'm very happy about it. From Juba to Bor. From Juba to Torit. To Kafoita. I'm happy about it. We don't want to hear ambushes and so on. And I attributed this to relative peace. We want Tumaini to come and add on to it. Not to come and destroy the little that we have achieved since 2018. Yeah.
Okay, yes, let's continue. We are past our time, but supposed to close by now. Let's be a little bit quick. Honorable, we have one of a professional farmer here. Yes, maybe we'll be able to say something later. So it's one of the prominent ones. You had a question? Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, for the wonderful discussion and explanation. Uh, my question is, what role is Parliament playing to ensure the full implementation of the ABI protocol? And how are you addressing the unresolved status of the ABI area? That is one. And then what advice will you give to young people who want to influence policy and advocate for change in their communities? Thank you very much.
Answer one after another because I'm not writing them. On the question of ABA, we know ABA is a leftover from the CPA. These provisions was binding between the government of the Sudan and the SPLM by then. There were other works that were done already, including determining the boundary, which was done in The Hague. The first vice president was holding this file. He was able to go to The Hague with the leaders from ABA. Extensive consultation was done on the question of ABA. What delayed the implementation of ABA protocol was lack of political will. After demarcating the boundary, after even preparing the ground for a referendum, lack of political will killed the referendum, which was to be organized by the government of the Sudan by then, under the auspices of the international community. But the communities of ABA went ahead and held a referendum. And the results, they also declared the results. Recently, the Governors Forum resolved on the proposal, strong proposal that came from ABA delegates, that these results of the ABA referendum, community referendum, which was organized, should be considered by the government. It is now under consideration. The executive is trying to consider this proposal or resolution from the governors forum. It was discussed in the governance cluster the other day. Is going to go to the Council of Ministers, and then it will come to the Parliament. Whatever outcome it will take, we leave it to that processes. I don't want to speak as an individual, though I have my own view about that. I know Abyei with its people. These are our people. This is our land. Historically, it was only in terms of administration moved to the other side. But it remains our territory, our land. We wanted these political processes that was resolved in the CPA to take shape, but lack of political will sabotage it. We cannot wait forever. So it is now going through legal proceedings. It will end up in the parliament, and you'll get to know when the time comes. And then the youth, the youth involvement in influencing policies and so on is very critical. This is actually part of it. And I'm very happy interacting with you today. When they tell you, you are the leaders of tomorrow, they don't qualify. That tomorrow actually starts today. You have no time to waste or to wait. You are now at the age. You have energy. You have gone to school. You lack nothing. Your eyes are open. You managed to go to school and study. You could have left your parents, might be in the village, and you are here in town. Your tomorrow is today and is now. Look at the countries around us. Those who are in parliament are youth, women. In Uganda, in Kenya, South Africa. Look at Senegal. The president is a youth. Burkina Faso and all this. The world of today, it is your world. Yes, we benefit from the experience and the knowledge of the senior citizens who are still amidst us. Those are an added advantage that you have as young people. You will not forget your history. Your senior citizens will tell you. Because the way we are is because of our history. so that we don't make mistakes. We must learn from the past and learn from our neighbors and learn from the current global environment that we live in. They say .com. Those who attained their education in the 60s, in those days they were being taught how to read and write. And they must do it. But today, look at you. You have all the instruments that can write for you, that can even read for you, that can calculate for you. The country is yours. The country was liberated and it got independence. And even during the liberation, it was you, the youth, that participated. 80% of the fighting forces were the energetic young ones. The 20% can be the commanders and so on, senior officers. What were you fighting for? Those who are now seen in Bill Farm and so on as old people, in those days they were youth in uniform, fought. God help them to live until they are here still. For you now, you have nothing to fight for. The country is here. You get involved in public policy, go to conferences, be innovative, and so on.
No, you cannot, when a politician is talking, it's yeah, non-stop. Now, I want us to have an agreement here because our time, it's, I want to give one lady, we had a point, yeah. Is it okay if we give her to answer the question? Then perhaps in the near future we'll invite Honorable again. Is that okay? Yeah, because our time is running out. You see, when the batteries are dying. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity, the chance to ask. I have a few questions. One is on, as a young woman, I am so concerned about loan taking in the country. We read a lot of publications in social media, and the most recent is on the Lobonok. And I've seen you giving your comment on social media, and my question is, is the parliament really aware of the so many loans that have been happening in the recent years? And what is the parliament doing about this? Because almost every new minister of finance, we see a leaked document of loan taken. And we want to know what the parliament is doing about this. And my second question is about the recent incident. We've also seen on social media, there are so many claims about the participation of South Sudanese, okay, in the Sudan conflict, but I've not read the position of the government of South Sudan on this, because we have seen so many social media posts where there are South Sudanese in uniform, okay, in the battlefields. My
The microphone has refused.
Okay, let me answer the.
It's on the recent conflict. You know, when the whole thing happened, we have seen SSPDF protecting the market and so many people here and there all over. Okay, and I am very grateful about it because funds came from nowhere and facilitated the whole process. But then we have seen so many South Sudanese who are having properties looted, land grab, but then no SXPDF deployment, nothing happening. So we want to know the interest of the government. Is it in protecting the fundamental human rights of the citizens? and as well as the protection of properties of both national and foreigner?
Okay. Thank you very much. Because all the questions were very critical and important. I couldn't actually uh, catch them all properly. But the one of loans, we have a loan crisis in the country. The total debt for South Sudan is put at 3 billion. 3 billion US dollars. It may be more. And the constitution say, and the relevant laws, the PFM, says loan must be procured with the approval of the parliament. They have been faulting these provisions. People go and negotiate loans and they appropriate it. The recent one which was being discussed, which you referred to, I commented on. I got some people coming to my office complaining that, am I against the people of Lebanon? I said, no. I'm here, the first deputy speaker of National Parliament. We must do the right thing. If we want to govern this country properly, let us do the right thing at the right time. The loan was meant actually to construct this road of Lobonok to join with the road of Juba Nimule at Pageri. You will have at the end of that project a new road going via Lobonok, connecting to Pageri and Nimule. And then you will have the old road from Juba, Aru, Obama, connecting to that road from Lobonok and then to Pageri Nimule. If this road remains in its current shape, and then you have a new road here, the road from Juba to Nimule has installations along the road, including security services, including centers, commercial centers, sprouting up, and so on. The road, the new road, still doesn't have it. Even here in Nesitu, you have a revenue center on this road. For a driver, is looking for a good road, whether it is short or long. A planner, a government planner, should take this into consideration. That the diversion of traffic is obviously going to occur. That means we should also do the same deployments, installations, and so on the road on this road coming from Lobanok. We also move the custom and place it on this road coming to Lobanok. The question is, when do we construct this road? Should it be now or should it be later? Because we have already road which has been spoiled. It has been spoiled. If you construct new one, then the traffic will change. And so on. That was one concern that was being raised. The second concern, the road from Juba to Nimule was constructed by the USAID funds, $225 around $1 million. And this is from Juba to Nimule. But then Juba, Lobonok, and stopping at Pageri is 402 million. This one also must raise concern. We are not against the construction of roads. And I told the person who came, the people who came to me, said, His Excellency, the Vice President is also the chair of economic cluster. The economic well-being of our country, prudent use of resources, is the one in charge. Should that project continue, or if it is brought to the parliament? And moreover, in the Appropriation Act, we have not catered for capital allocation for roads. We have not catered for it. It might be next year budget. So that is what I told them. So the issue of loan, we have loan crisis here. People procure loans without approval of parliament. Very few comes to the parliament. Those ones which are not very lucrative. Like some loans related to construction of roads from Maywood to Paloch. You don't see cash in it. Send it to the parliament. But where there is cash being carried in boxes, no. In fact, you may not even know until it comes as leakage. So that is about the loan. The other one, you are asking about the protection of goods and services of foreigners, provoke the deployment of UPDF and quick action. Yet there are people who lost their property, their land were grabbed and so on. There is no protection being given to them. That is a very good political question. Okay? And I'm not saying those who grab property of people, land, or physical buildings, I'm not saying they have now escaped. They have not escaped. Though I hear people go to lands office to change papers and so on. Even if you change papers, if you acquire your paper in 2020 on the same land, and somebody acquired his papers in 2007 on the same land. Which papers will be authentic? It is the original owner. There are people now who are inhabiting premises, and they have even constructed very exorbitant apartments on those property, and they are living as if they will live forever, or as if South Sudan will remain the way it is. South Sudan will not remain the way it is. If they think the laws are not effective now, South Sudan of tomorrow will have effective laws and effective government that will dispense justice to anybody whose rights has been abused. So to answer you, my young sister, don't say those ones have already won the battle. There are many people here in Tongping, Munuki and so on, Jebel. They grab people's property. Even this rock city, including Jebel Lodge, doesn't belong to the people who are now occupying it. The people occupying Rock City now and Jebel Lodge, these are grabbers. The owner of Rock City is there. He went to court and he was awarded his property back. But somebody feels he's strong outside the government and has occupied the property. Now the owner has fled, is in exile. Such kind of people, they will not live forever. And South Sudan will not remain like this forever. So this is what I can say.
Yes, all right. I think because of time, I think just want to say a greeting, right? Yeah. Then we can officially close.
Thank you so much, Mwaka Daniel, for the opportunity, and then Honorable First Deputy Speaker, your presence here is acknowledged. I'm sorry for coming late. I think I was the last person to come in here. Yeah, I'm by the name Robert Okumu Hakim, popularly known as Ola Ola. I'm an agripreneur, as well as I work also in the humanitarian. So I don't know whether I should start it as a question, because I've been having some kind of a burning question that I feel like should also throw to Honorable First Deputy Speaker. In the context of South Sudan right now, when we look critically at the developmental partners, the agencies, all the donations and the funds that they throw in this country in the name of the government, but the funds are not being managed by our respective ministries, be it health, in the agriculture. So you see that sometimes like African Development Bank, USAID, World Bank, all the funding that they have, it's in the name of the people of South Sudan, of which the government is the custodian, supposed to be the custodian of all these resources. But you find that this money, it's remitted in the account of UN agencies, international organizations that they want managing these resources on behalf of the government or maybe respective ministries. And when you look at the way how this money is being spent, millions of dollars is going on paying the expatriates. They bring a lot of experts from different countries to come and manage some of these projects. So a lot goes on salaries and little goes to help our people in this country. And at the end, in some years to come, the country is going to be held accountable from these respective countries who are giving funds and donations to the country to support us during this time of crisis. My question here is, Does the government know the implications of some of these activities that is happening right now? Money not being handled by our respective ministries, especially let me handle in the section of agriculture that I come from. You talked of either the ministries, line ministries procuring either hundreds or thousands of tractors, which productive citizens or maybe youth would submit their proposals and they will be awarded these tractors based on merit, and then they will use these tractors to do productions that will support this country. And when we look critically, a GDP of a country is measured, production is one of it, which is agriculture. A lot of money right now we're spending in millions of dollars in importing just a mere flour from our neighboring Uganda, yet we have productive places. I was in Mayom County, and I think if somebody who is on LinkedIn would have seen, I shared some photos of a rice scheme. You will not believe that this is in Mayom County, just here, one of our state in Unity, one of the county in Unity State. So we have rice productions there. We have maize productions in areas like in Magui, Yei, Yambio, you can name, even as well as Unity State, I've seen really massive productions. So these productions were reduced on the cost that we spend on importing this food from outside country. Does the government really have time to look at some of these things like to support these local productions other than relying on imported things? And also the implications of these donations, which is not being handled by the government, somebody else is on accounting for it, not the government. How will you account for this in the future? Thank you.
All right, maybe we have 2 minutes to respond to this, Honorable.
Yeah. Of course, we are aware the nature and structure of donation that is going on in the country. Some of these donations, they come with a string attached in terms of the management. They come with a string attached in terms of the purpose of the donation and so on. But what is very important is donations coming in the name of the country, the government, which is the sole authority, must influence the way it is managed and the way it is used. The labor sector also should get involved in terms of employment of foreigners and employment of locals to implement a project which is benefiting from donations. If we have very clear and stringent labor regulations, some of the questions you raise will be resolved. The issue of purpose can be negotiated, and places also. Where should be the target place, project place, and so on. That one can be negotiated. But of course, you need a strong government, a government that is executing and is effectively executing the laws. I give you the oil sector. There is what they call the black Chinese. Okay. You have white Chinese and you have black Chinese. When the white Chinese gets it very difficult, for instance, with the Minister of Petroleum, they will use the black Chinese to move their interests, to sail their interests through. Okay. So I'm sure also other sectors, they also have their black Chinese who are sailing the interests of the foreigners. And at the end of the day, they are being given token. But all this will stop if we have very strong laws that can deal with corrupt practices. Because corruption is not about only stealing money or what. Corruption is about employing wrongly, deciding wrongly, doing it wrongly, and so on. These are corrupt practices. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. First Deputy Speaker, can we give another round of applause to him? Yes, I think we have come to the end of our discussion. I want to appreciate you so much for the time. I know you are a very busy man and you have given us over 2.5 hours of your time. We really appreciate this. And this platform, it's initiative of the young people. We have hosted ministers here. We have hosted the mayor. We have hosted the first constitutional judge who was supported by Nelson Mandela. We hosted him here. So we host different prominent both politicians and entrepreneurs as well in this show. So we appreciate you coming. As I said before, the show you can watch on Sunday from 7:30 to 8:30. And they do repeat it on Monday as well on Juba Echo TV, on MTN TV, and we shall upload all this on our social media platforms. Now we are going to do a last exercise that this show is not sponsored. This show is it's an initiative for the youth. We thought information is key. We need to engage our young people to be relevant with what is happening. So I want to say that those who are here, if you want to support the show, you're welcome. We don't charge for the show. We don't ask for anything. But if you feel like this show should continue, we should be able to provide the things that need to be provided as well. It is welcome. Before you leave, we have tea. If you have not taken tea, so that we can be able to leave. Maybe you can tell us your last word, Right Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm very impressed with the level of questions that you ask, the level of engagement and organization that you have here. I know I should have come early enough, but I was involved in another meeting. But I made sure that I leave the meeting halfway and come this way. I want to encourage all of you to continue with this spirit and also contact us whenever you need our support or participation. Thank you.